These words are not my words, words flow through me. About the 12 bold statements what I received during 1 year, and today I will talk about those. So I received the first bold statement. It was April 28, 2022. And during 1 year, I was able to receive 12 bold statements. And I believe if we follow those statements, we can massively change the world. And it wasn't actually something what I was looking for. It just came through me. And I decided to write them down. And also it was a bit challenging because I didn't really understand that why I received those messages and what this actually meant, but I knew that I have to write them down. So number one, first bold statement. By listening, we will change the world. What this means simply, so often when we communicate with each others, we are not actually truly listening. We are simply, even if we're having the conversation with each others and we think we are listening, we are not actually listening. We are simply waiting when it's our turn to comment, to reply, or add something. And by truly listening, what does actually mean? It means lots of things. That we are actually listening what the other individual fellow human is saying. And when we are actually listening, we don't need to rush the conversation. We create this kind of wonderful space that the fellow human feels that she is definitely also seen, heard, and understood because we are creating the space. And when we are listening, we are actually able to understand lots of things between the lines, what is not necessarily said, because we are so much focusing to truly understand what we hear and what the other individual is actually trying to communicate. That's very important. And I boldly believe that possibly most of the challenging situations, let's say conflicts between individuals or whatever groups, teams, we could avoid if we would simply listen. Think about the situation. Things are so much more easier to observe when we are observing fellow humans than when we are thinking about ourselves in one certain situation. Think about the situation when you have been observing that there has been, let's say, conflict between two fellow humans. So have you noticed that if both of them definitely have very strong opinions and they might very aggressively be, let's say, almost it feels like against each others, or they don't want to understand each others, and none of them is really trying to connect with each others or to understand in deeper level what the other individual is saying. So most likely the situation will just create more conflict, and most likely the conflict will not resolve unless at least one of them is willing to listen. And it's also important to point out that whenever there is discussion, even conflict or challenging situation, we don't need to agree, we don't need to think the similar way, but we can simply listening. So, for example, we can say, I see you, I understand, or interesting, tell me more. I would like to understand, and I appreciate you. What else you want to say? All of these are very encouraging and positive, very wonderful ways to, let's say, to help and assist the communication and help the other individual to feel that she is seen, heard, and understood, that we are truly listening what she wants to say. Right. But I would say that the most important thing when it comes to listening, surprisingly, or not so surprisingly, is simply to stay more quiet. Actually, I believe it's less words and less questions, less sentences are actually needed. We might ask something or we might add what I just mentioned before, but it's not necessarily needed. It can be very powerful. Silence is very powerful. Right. So this was number one. Number two, by forgiveness, we will change the world. Forgiveness is definitely one of the most challenging things during this lifetime. How can how can we always remember to ask forgiveness and forgive? Both of those can be definitely challenging, and everything starts with ourselves. We need to forgive for ourselves, and often many times, and then also we need to forgive others. Like, how can we expect others to forgive us if we are not ready to forgive for them? And surprisingly, oftentimes we think that the challenge is it's so difficult to forgive for somebody else. And I had actually very personal experience, let's say revelation in this topic. I thought that why it's so difficult to forgive for the other one. And then I understood it wasn't actually the thing. The thing was actually that I needed to forgive for myself in the first place. And then naturally forgive for the others. And there are situations definitely it would be most beautiful if we are asking the forgiveness directly from the individual, or if we are forgiving them with, let's say, that we communicate, we reach out to them. But it's not always, let's say, possible or necessary. We can also forgive from the distance. For we can forgive them for the distance. That's possible. Right. Number three, by having deep inner peace and as individuals, we will change the world. Deep inner peace. That's wonderful, amazing, beautiful. And I think so many fellow humans unfortunately lacking the deep sense of peace, because it's not necessarily always so easy to, let's say, have inner peace because of different factors. The everyday life can be quite stressful and hectic. So are we really having the deep inner peace? That's the question. And the inner peace is definitely connected with our energy. What kind of energy we have? I believe that people have, usually fellow humans, we do have certain kind of base energy. What is there, when you interact with fellow humans, you can feel that, there is the base energy which is always the same. For example, is it how you feel around this person? Is it more, let's say, I would say, does it feel safe? You feel comfortable? You feel you can be yourself? Or does it feel possibly that you don't feel emotionally so safe, or you don't feel so much connected? So it can be different kinds in day by day, but it's simply it's there. In this kind of energy, I believe it's little bit also has to do with the characteristics. Since we grow up, we do have different kind of energy. Some of us might be more easy to approach by fellow humans, even by animals. You know, it's just the energy, and but then it's also that we can always develop our energy. This is not something that what is, we have the same from the beginning until the end. So we can develop the energy in all directions for sure, and that's a wonderful and fantastic thing when we start to have more great energy and everything. And when I talk about energy, I don't talk about the energy of activity that we have too much energy, we are like ready to run 10 kilometers. I talk about the vibe, the mood, the energy, the intuition, when you just feel things and places, circumstances, buildings, and everything. Right. So this is connected for the inner peace also, that when we do have great energy and we develop this energy and focus on this, we are able also to have more inner peace. It's kind of vibe mood. There are other things also how we can develop this inner peace. How when we are truly connected with ourselves and staying in the nature, all these things. For example, avoiding news. News are not necessarily very healthy and beneficial for humans. I try to avoid news as much as possible because news creates stress, and when we are unnecessary stress, we don't need to know what's happening in the world necessary. It doesn't change our life really. So when we feel more stressed, then we don't feel so much inner peace. There are lots of different elements. I just cover these topics like slightly, and then I will later upload videos where I focus in every single topic more. Number 4, by being open-minded and accepting each other just who we are, without analyzing and categorizing, we will change the world. I think that's so very, very important. It's actually typical for humans that we categorize each other's. It's actually brain structure, how the brains are actually categorizing information, but also when we interact with each other's, it's kind of this was naturally happening, but I suggest that we could possibly focus for being more open-minded and less accepting each other's, less judgment, and let everybody just be who they are. So once again, it starts from here. When we accept ourselves more in holistic way who we are, and when we are open-minded who we actually are, so then we don't have so much this need to judge actually anybody. So I would almost say that every single time when we caught ourselves to judging somebody else, we have always the work to do with ourselves. It's usually surprisingly exactly the same area what we need to focus. It might be insecurities, it might be jealousy, it might be, unhealed trauma, whatever is the thing where we need to focus. So more self-acceptance. And then it's also like how much we really need to categorize fellow humans. What is the benefits? Because it kind of, we have created a world that we have so much labels and diagnoses and categorizing and limitations. So what is really the benefits? Because I think it's not actually beneficial. It might be beneficial in some situations, yes, but when I think about it as a whole, as how much we actually do it, it's really beneficial. And I think actually it can definitely lead to discrimination, limitations we put for ourselves and possibly for each others. So why we do it, I find it not so beneficial as we think. So then number 5, by being authentic and truthful what we think and feel, we will change the world. Also very important, that how often we are actually authentic and truthful, what we actually think and what we actually feel when we interact with fellow humans. Somebody asks, how are you? So let's say we are not really feeling that well. Are we saying, I'm just fine? Yes, this is what we do all the time, right? And it can be different reasons. Maybe we don't want to open up if it's just, let's say, a random person or somebody. It's not always appropriate to open up naturally. But if you think about the situations when the fellow human is truly curious to know and wants to know how are you, how it goes, possibly support. It can be friend, it can be family member, it can be actually random human being. I've had beautiful experience also with the random human beings that they have been, asking how it goes, and this has been amazing. To also to notice that there are fellow humans who don't actually know you, but they truly care. Beautiful, right? So whenever we feel it's appropriate and the fellow human actually wants to know how it goes, I encourage all of us to be more truthful, say what we actually think, what we actually feel, because this is how we are able, when we dare to be vulnerable, we are actually able to create these meaningful connections. When we start to say that, what, I'm not having the best moment and this is what happened today. There might be so many different possibilities. It can be simply that we open up and we might feel a little bit better. It might also happen that the fellow human had the same kind of day. It can be also, talking Swedish now, sorry. It can be also mutually beneficial. Maybe the fellow human is having the same kind of thoughts. So it can be, oh my God, it's almost like it's like support for both of them. Wonderful. Like, oh my God, I'm not alone with these thoughts. So actually, surprisingly, fellow humans, we have pretty much the same kind of thoughts and challenges during this lifetime. So, but the thing is that we just don't dare to talk about those things. And when we dare, it doesn't mean that we need to get stuck or we need to be just negative. It simply means that we are able to be truthful and create these connections and understand each other in deeper level. Wonderful. Number 6, by finding our purpose, we will change the world. Very important. I believe, unfortunately, most human beings never discover who they are and why they are here. Who am I? Why I am here? We are not born by accidents. None of us. We are here for purpose. We are here for reason. So it's to discover why I am here. What's the purpose? What's the reason? And sadly, I believe that most human beings never discover even closely why they are here. What is the purpose? And it can also be, sometimes the reason is that if the purpose is a bit unusual, it's maybe more easy if your purpose is very typical. So it's just, you might discover it quite, quite smooth and easy. Some of us might be lucky we discover this even when we are growing up. But if your purpose is a bit unusual, you might not even find the support what you would like to have, because it's unusual, right? So it might be that the society or the people around you might not understand your purpose because you don't understand your purpose because it's unusual. Nothing wrong, but I simply encourage all of us to go after the purpose. And I believe that if we are not living according to our purpose, this can even lead for depression. And it does make sense, logical, right? When you are not doing the things what you actually should be doing or what you feel you are aligned. So when you go after your purpose, you feel aligned, you feel somehow ease, you feel that things flow naturally, and you have the energy, you have the excitement. It doesn't feel like work, it feels like something very interesting, almost like a project that you are very excited about. And then you are also able to reach, for example, flow state quite easily. So you forget the time, you forget, to eat, you forget you need to sleep because you are creating according to your purpose. So beautiful and amazing. Right. Then number 7, by connecting with our roots and unique culture, we change the world. I think it's also very massive. We come from somewhere and we have unique culture, all of us, where we come from. Then it's also that even if we come from one culture or mix of cultures, we don't need to get stuck with also our culture. We can also celebrate all the cultures together. But it's a wonderful when we start to connect with our culture and let's say the ancestors. We start to find out who are they. So let's say we can connect the dots, and usually things start to make so much sense. For example, why we like certain culture or feel like attracted to. And then we find out when we start to research, oh my God, it's amazing. Our ancestors, where they come from. My ancestors, for example, they come from Russia. And I had this interest for Russia and Russian culture. I always felt, oh my God, it's amazing. It's like magnets, something naturally. So then I knew that yes, we have a Russian ancestors, but I discovered that it's actually, let's say, all of them ancestors. When you go behind the grandparents from both sides, they are coming from Russia or the border of the Russia. So yeah, everything did make sense. So that's interesting stuff to discover. Same time, we can definitely celebrate all the cultures, or we might have a culture in one area or one country. We feel connected. It's also beautiful and amazing. There is nothing wrong also to have deep connection with another culture. And right. Okay, number 8, by respecting mothers will change the world, I think is so very important because mothers are source of the life, and without mothers there is no life. So I'm also a mother. I do have 4 amazing kids, and it's a different experience to have a kids. There is nothing like this experience. So by respecting mothers will change the world, it's very important because mothers take care of us. They carry us 9 months, take care of us, they love us, they nurture, they dedicate all the time and energy. And all the important to remember, all the mothers are trying to do their best, whatever they're doing. I suggest we should not judge any mother, whatever they're doing, because everybody is trying to do their best according to energy, awareness, what awareness they have, what energy, what resources. So I was also single mother 3 years before, and I knew I should be doing more what I was doing, but I couldn't do better than this. I was doing everything what I could. So here is the thing also, that sometimes we as a mothers or as a parents, whatever, we know we need to do more, but we don't have the energy or resources. We might even have the awareness. So here's the thing. Sometimes we have the energy, but we don't have the awareness. So that's why we need to be, let's say, we need to be like appreciate, and shouldn't be too judgmental, and we should accept that we have done our best. And when it comes to other mothers, we should always accept that they have done their best. There are some mothers who just labor the child and they can't live with the child for whatever reason. Maybe they give the child for adoption and everything. And this is not my area. I haven't experienced, and it might be very painful for sure for both, for the mother and for the child. So I don't want to say it's easy experience or something, but what I simply mean, I believe that this mother has also done her best. Sometimes you hear that they say, for example, that they felt that giving the child for adoption was best for them because they couldn't care of the child better. This is what they believed. So before we judge anybody, we should understand and respect the mothers. Mothers are amazing. So if we can't respect the mothers, the person who create the life or who brought us to this life, who can we actually respect? How much we can actually be connected with ourselves truly if we can't respect our mothers. And I do understand also that some fellow humans might have challenging relationship with the mother for whatever reason. It's okay, it happens, that's life. So it can also be that you might have challenging relationship with your mother, but you can still respect and love her. That's also totally possible. Right. Number 9. By truly listening and understanding children, we will change the world. Also very important because children, for many reasons, children are our future. Also, children are like white papers. So you can take the same child and put the child to live in 5 different families, and it will be 5 different outcome. Naturally, there are also genetics who play part, but I have also started to think about how much is actually genetics which play part, or how much it's actually the environment and, let's say, genetics or environment which is similar, the family and then the, let's say, the kids, parents, grandparents. Okay, if you say it's a genetic, it's in this family, this genetics, or is it simply because the environment can be possibly similar in with the kids, with the parents, and with the grandparents? Interesting questions, right? But anyways, so it's very important that we should really focus in this thing more, that we truly listening, because we hear this that we should listen adults naturally, but how often we actually listen, how often we actually focus what the kids they want to say, how they truly feel. So for example, are we really trying to understand what they say? So we can, for example, we can encourage the kids to talk about their emotions. How are you? How you feel? And when it comes to emotions, I encourage that we shouldn't simply focus on the positivity and wonderful things. Especially with the kids, it's very important also to encourage them to talk about the challenging things and say, if you are not feeling well, or it's okay, I encourage we should remind the kids it's okay also to be upset about something. There's nothing wrong. You can say your anger, you can also be sad. That's okay. Normal human emotions. Right. But it's not healthy and beneficial to, let's say, box those emotions, what can simply happen in the long run. Typically, it happens with the girls that they turn inwards, and it can become, for example, depression or self-destruction. Boys are usually turning more outwards, and for example, if they are sad, let's say they're angry, or it behind the anger might be actually grief and sadness. However, they usually turn it outwards, these emotions. Right. Then number 10, by meeting human beings at their individual level, we will change the world, because we are individual journey. We have different kind of awareness and understanding about this life, and this is how it should be actually. We should not try to convince somebody to think like what we think, or believe what we believe, or view the world how we view the world. And we need to understand that we have conversations. Sometimes we have a conversation with somebody that we feel, oh my God, I am not understanding what this individual is saying, because they have different level of awareness and understanding. You could almost say like a wisdom, and even the words what they use might be quite hard to understand. So we are in these situations. It happens, yes. And sometimes we are also situations that maybe the fellow human is possibly not able to understand what we actually mean, or how we view the world. So, and this might be the lack of awareness. And then let's say we might try, for example, simplify our message, Or sometimes we can leave certain things out. We don't need to explain so much, and we definitely don't need to expect that the person would understand us. There is no need to start to lecture about some things what we believe are fantastic if the individual is not having the awareness and is not ready to receive. So we can simply accept that we can just meet the individual at their individual level. Right. And there is nothing wrong or right. There is not the better or worse humans according to awareness or wisdom or in which journey we are at. We are equally important and valuable as humans. Right. Then bold statement number 11. By connecting to our soul, we will change the world. So by connecting with our soul, and some of these bold statements are definitely connected with each others. Like for example, this one is similar than the number 3 by having deep inner peace, which is the world, but it's not exactly the same, but they're similar. So, but very, very important. So think about if all human beings would be connected with themselves in soul level. I believe we would definitely change the world if simply this one single statement would happen with everybody. We would create fantastic world. So when we are connected with our souls, it's lots of things. But for example, we know who we are, we know what we want, we most likely we have deep inner peace. We also most likely know what is our purpose. We are following our intuition, the inner guidance. When something feels right, we feel it. When something doesn't feel right, we feel it. When it comes to fellow human situations, whatever situations. And also, how can we be connected with our souls? Once again, nature is fantastic elements because in the nature, I like to say that nature is the mirror of our soul because nature is element of peace. So it's quiet, it's a peace. So we have to listen ourselves. We need to listen our soul. And then we start to have these sentences and questions inside of us. Who am I? What is the purpose of life? And what I am doing with my everyday life? We might start to have good things, how I actually feel. Then we might have those thoughts also. What I'm actually doing, is this right thing to do? Is this something what I really want to do with my life? Do I feel good about myself? Do I feel good with myself? First of all, and who am I actually? What is the self-image? And we can also change this self-image. How we feel about ourselves, self-esteem. So let's not confuse self-esteem and self-confidence. Self-confidence is how I feel about when I do something, when I get, let's say, achievements, diplomas, whatever. So this is self-esteem, self-confidence. But self-esteem simply how I feel about myself without achievements, without diplomas, without anything and nothing. So who am I actually? Right. Also, which can help to connect for ourselves, meditation, for example. Meditation simply, it's not any mystical or something very magical, strange, or let's say difficult. Like, it's simply that we sit with our thoughts. Like, to start to meditate, it's not difficult, but to sit with our thoughts, try to quiet our mind without judging the thoughts or getting stuck. This is the challenge. And it's okay. It should be challenge because this is how humans we are structured. So the goal don't have to be that we just reach some, one superhuman experience during meditation or in this moment. If you don't have to call it meditation, you can call it, that you sit down in the quiet. You can actually walk and meditate same time. Observe your thoughts, let the thoughts come and go, and don't let the thoughts, try not to let the thoughts to build nest like birds. They are flying top of you, and don't let the thoughts to build nest in your head. So this could be wonderful goal. So same time observe how I feel, how it feels in my body. Is it tense? Do I feel good? Do I feel peaceful? Do I feel anxiety? All these wonderful things. Right. Then number 12, last one. By self-love will change the world. Massively important. How would we remember to accept and love ourselves more? So one very important thing is, for example, forgiveness. All of us, we have something that we need to forgive for ourselves, and often we are not even aware. So we don't necessarily need to even know what is the thing that we haven't forgiven for ourselves. We can simply say, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. We can even hug ourselves, Or we can say, I accept myself and repeat this. Or one also very important is I am enough. So many of us, we feel that we are not enough. And these are all connected for the self-love. Right. That simply self-love, self-esteem are connected. Do I love myself who I am? Not what I do, who I am as a person, without achievements, without diplomas, without anything and nothing. Nothing wrong with those, but it's more important. It's like layers. The first layer is self-image, then it's the self-esteem, is next layer, and self-confidence. And the most important is the inner layer, self-image, then it's self-esteem, and then it's self-confidence. So do I love myself just the way who I am? At the same time, we can striving after, doing wonderful, great things and develop ourselves, whatever, take care of ourselves. There don't have to be any conflict that because I love myself as I am, it means I don't have to do great things. So I shouldn't change anything in myself. Yes, it's possible. We can still, change lots of things. Yes, wonderful and beautiful. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching this video, and it was long gap. I didn't make these videos, but now I have decided to start to make the videos again with a little bit different topics than before. So, for example, we focus in these 12 bold statements and everything around this. How can we create better world we together? TK, lots of love. Bye.